as Aaron said, I'm Brian Luck. I'm a 4-year Wisconsinite now. Been here for 4 years. If you listen close, or if you ask me to, I can turn the Southern up. But people tend to have trouble understanding me when I do that. So I'll go ahead and warn you, I'm recovering from a cold, so if I turn my head and hack a minute, please excuse me, but that's possible to need to happen, okay? So what I'm going to talk to you today about is I'm going to try to set these guys up for a nice talk and just give you an overview of ag technology today. What's out there, what we can expect maybe in the future a bit, okay? So I put this picture up all across the state of Wisconsin, and I asked people, have you thought about how long did it take us to advance from the upper left to the lower right? Anybody got an idea? Less than 100 years, less than a century. We've gone from farming with horses, single row at a time, to multiple 1,000 horsepower machines in the fields, right? Very impressive advancement. Also, I always check, if you don't mind me taking a second to do so, just from an equipment manufacturer's standpoint, I know there's a lot of opinions, and I want to know the group I'm talking to. So, green fans? Okay. Red? Blue? There's a few. Orange? Okay, how many people, when I say orange, think I mean Kubota? Get out of here. So I have to admit that I have to support a company that's out of business. My favorite is Alice Chalmers right now. So, and I do own a D21. That's why I put it up there. So there's our 100 years in ag advancement. The other thing I put up is this your tractor cab, right? A few people recognize that view. It's really interesting to me. So in ag engineering, we're sort of working towards what's called the isobus standardization, right? I can't believe we haven't finished it yet, but it's coming. Look at Joe shaking his head. It's coming along. There are people working on it. But the thought behind that is the network that communicates on the tractor, everybody can get on it, everybody can use it, and everybody knows what the messages are to control different things, right? The reason we have multiple monitors up there is because that standard's not in place and everybody needs to make their own thing, which is, in my estimation, I'll call it dangerous. How's that sound? Has everybody pulled out onto a road trying to turn left and looked right and seen nothing but monitors? Anyway, that's just my two cents on that. Long story short, we need to finish that standardization to make everything talk and work together, okay? Few monitors in there. We won't go into depth on exactly what that is. So I put the whole precision ag history timeline sort of up there just for you to consider, and then I think the next slide I'll show you is something about some technology adoption. So where did this all start? Sometime back in the 90s, I remember on my farm in Kentucky, we had UK researchers. We had the first yield monitor on the farm in the county. It was on a 2-row gleaner combine. We started doing GPS, so GPS was opened up to citizens and not just military, so we could spatially measure things, right? And then we started measuring the response variable, which is yield. Moving forward, we started controlling things better, and I'm trying to set Joe up for this because he's got a lot of good stuff he's going to tell you about with controlling machines and doing some neat stuff. We also did light bar and auto steer. Auto steer is a proprietary, I should say, guidance. Forgive me for that. And then variable rate nutrient application. I know this is an organic crowd, but it just happened to be in the slide. Excuse me. Implement control with the nozzle controls and planter row unit control, and also implement steering, which is another interesting thing that we started doing. Rather than steering the tractor to put it on the exact right line, we can actually steer the tractor to adjust where the implement is, which is a good thing, right? And that'll come in handy when we talk about cultivation as well. Finally, we're getting into the 2017. You can see I haven't updated this slide in a little while now. But data refined, we're starting to measure more about our fields, things along those lines, more control. And then everybody wants to talk about UAVs, which I won't talk about today. Has anybody seen the crop life survey on precision ag technology? No? Okay. So Dr. Bruce Erickson he's my buddy over in Purdue, he's an agronomist. He actually surveys equipment dealerships, asking them questions about how many of these technologies they've sold kind of across the country. And what I did was I found the one In his report, you can find it online. If you look for it, it's Crop Life Survey through Purdue Ag. If you want to go look at the full report, it's about 40 pages worth of survey data. But if you look at the adoption rates starting back in 1997, so what's up there if you can't see it? I know it's a little small, but we're talking grid or zone soil sampling, field mapping with GIS, that's using an information system or software package, yield monitor and other data analysis, yield monitor sales and support, satellite and aerial imagery, guidance or auto steer, soil EC mapping, and then UAV and drone imagery. I don't like the word drone, but I won't bore you with that story today. So what's the general trend? What does everybody see there? Yeah, everybody's adopting, right? We're starting to use some of these technologies. Why do you think that is? I know it's a big crew, so it's kind of hard to shout stuff out. I'll give you one thought, is that it helps, right? More information, better management decisions is kind of what we're going for, et cetera, into our system. That's a good thing. More control, save seeds, et cetera. The other question I have, does it matter if it just already comes on the equipment? Are you going to use it? Most likely, right? So a lot of that could be just because it's being built in and the cost is coming down. So we're all adopting technology. I think this is a nice picture for you to think about too. It's not the point of the presentation, but it does kind of show you a little bit about what a small investment could get you if you're thinking about getting a UAV. You see any problems out there? Yeah, I see a few. Couple things. There's diagonal lines in the field. First thing I'll tell you is anything you see that's straight is most likely man-made, right? So those are probably tillage compaction lines that are out there. The other question I have is what happened to the seeding rate or when the planter stopped? Pretty obvious that happened too, right? So whole nother question out there, but that's not necessarily what I wanted to present. I just think it's a pretty picture. Sort of the data and the technology and the machinery decision-making process is sort of a loop. It's kind of what we've been talking about. Last night I went to the little listening session or whatever we were at, and this sort of came into play, where we're starting to look more at data collection and understanding more about our fields and the organic system. This could be, soil properties. It could be spatial, weed management and looking at where the weeds are and how to treat those. In-field data collection, continuous monitoring of weather, all sorts of stuff out there for some of that. And then I throw up the interesting part, which is data analysis. This is sort of we're just getting started section in this, okay? So it's sort of the missing link, and there's crop consultants, other companies out there that are doing it. I don't think we've hit the precipice of what this should be as far as data analysis go, but there are some out there doing it. We have to make decisions based on that data analysis and based on what we found. The decisions go in two parts, right? And every precision ag talk, I always say, we're using technology to maximize yield, right? This group should shake their head no and laugh me out of the room, but you haven't done it, so that's your fault. We're maximizing profit. That's the goal, right? And then we're also considering environmental impacts, which is another good thing we get about doing managing spatially. Finally, implementation, we're using our machines to do it, and then we measure yield and go back and collect data and analyze, start the vicious cycle all over again, okay? So with our ag technology, what I thought I would do is just give you a brief overview. And I've got about 3 minutes, so we're going to fly through this of what technology is out there currently and maybe how it could be implemented in organic systems. The first one is guidance, right? So we had a conversation again last night that farmers must have straight rows, correct? Everybody should, yeah, everybody needs to have straight rows. My contention with my father when he let me plant corn for the first time was I got twice as much corn out there in my crooked rows as you got in your straight ones, okay? That didn't sit very well, and I never got to plant corn again. But anyway, if you invest in guidance, and a lot of people think, oh, that's got to be on a new tractor with a hydraulic steering valve and everything else, and I'll tell you, no, it doesn't. There are a couple aftermarket systems I put up here, not promoting one over the other or any one in particular, but if you do have older machines, you can implement guidance if you'd like with some of these aftermarket. A little calculation I did basically on a square field, which we can argue whether we all have square fields or not, but over 80 acres with a tillage tool that's 20 feet wide, based on a 2-foot overlap, you save about 5 passes at the end of the field if you eliminate those overlaps in tillage. 5 passes means time and diesel fuel and wear and tear on the machine, all back to you, right? So being efficient and using guidance is probably not the worst thing. I think Sam's going to get into telling you how it can be used in cultivation as well, all right? Other benefits that a lot of people don't think about is fatigue reduction, implement observation, and contour farming made easy, as long as you remember to hit that auto steer button, which I've made that mistake a couple of times. Take off and plant 30 feet that way because I didn't hit the button. Being able to sit in the tractor cab longer just because you're not fighting to keep that center mark on that tree that's a half a mile away, right? You don't have to work as hard to drive the machines. A couple of things with seeding and planting, and I know Leah brought up earlier today making good solid fun of me about this SIG grant we got. But just to tell you about the planting options that are out there. Row unit drive, so using variable rate seeding and row unit shutoff. The variable rate, we have a little question in the agronomy side here whether that's worth it or not, and you can talk to Joe Lauer about that. But with row unit shutoff, I can guarantee it saves you money, right? You look at that picture up there, maybe those point rows should be 30 inches away from the other rows, but long story short, planter shuts off right where it's supposed to, and you don't double plant. When we double plant, double the population, what do we do for our yield? Thank you. I got that wrong. Goes down, right? Also, we're saving seed on the front end because there's no sense in putting it out there. We're hurting ourselves. So one investment that I tell people that would make from a technology standpoint is that row unit drive will pay for itself. Variable down pressure is another one. We're doing a lot of research on that right now, looking at row unit ride through the field at normal planting speeds and ridiculous planting speeds, which I know we've all had conversations about that. In Kentucky, I wouldn't have been able to stay in the seat, but maybe in Wisconsin, everything's smoother. Row cleaner units is a big debate we had last night, so they exist. We know we call them trash whips or whatever. Those designs may not work so well in our thick cover crops, so we're going to do a little investigating on that this year. We also have closing wheel systems. I put a few up there that we've been looking at. Overall planter setup, which is infinitely important, making sure that planter disc opener is sharp and able to get into the ground, put the seed where it's supposed to be. And like I said, we have the SIG grant to try to look at some of these cover crop termination methods and also planter setup for planting into organic systems, okay? The other thing I'll tell you about is adjusting how we think about our machinery technology, right? So there's a lot of European machines out there that have front 3-points. How many people have front 3-point on a machine in here? Quite a few of you, yeah, and quite a few of you use roller crimpers too. So preaching to the choir here a little bit, but thinking about using some of those to be able to make one pass over the field and get everything done would be a good thing. And then we can use it for other attachments as well. I can imagine just walking up to whatever tank I needed and put it on the front and be handy to have sometimes. And then maybe we can even design new machines. So I'm in ag engineering. I'm a machinery systems specialist. That's what I do, along with a few others up here. So maybe thinking about new machinery designs specifically for organic systems, which I think Joe's going to tell you a little bit more about. We want to decrease passes, improve timing, and improve efficiency. So if you get the stuff done at the right time, it's always more effective, correct? Finally, what do we think about using something like that to seed our cover crops? Has anybody seen this thing? So I got to go to Agritechnica last year. No, 2 years ago. This is a European machine. It's Italian. I believe the company's called Mazzati. And it's a sprayer, obviously, but could be modified. That cab is probably, the bottom of it's probably 15 feet in the air right there. And the bottom of the sprayer is probably 10 feet. I stood up next to it, and it's way up there when it's fully deployed. So a couple questions come to mind. If those of you that farm on flat ground probably won't find this funny, but what if it is on a hill sideways? Blip bloom, blip bloom, blip bloom, blip bloom. The other question I have, and this is a little off color, so please forgive me, but what happens when nature calls and you're 15 feet up in the air? I want to know how fast that thing gets me to the ground, right? Anyway, with that, I think I'll leave you with those thoughts, and I'll be around for questions after.